But I can tell you this, if Drake Maye's not in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony, something is really wrong with the award.
That said, Greeny's tired of hearing me say it. I love Drake Maye. I'm done with the Drake Maye blasphemy. Whoever gets the Drake Maye pick wins the draft.
Wow. Okay. Reese Davis showing up with the
Patriots fan, so I'm very excited.
Well, at the end of last season, there wasn't even a question. Jaden Daniels was the best quarterback from the 2024 NFL draft class. Fast forward to year 2 though, and that conversation looks entirely different. Drake Maye, the so-called project, is torching defenses, leading the Patriots into contention, and making MVP noise before he's even hit his prime. And now suddenly, those first 2 draft picks don't look so certain anymore. Because the truth is, there's a reason Drake Maye wasn't the first overall pick. And now, there's an even bigger reason why every team ahead of him wishes he was their quarterback. KRICH crew, we are back for another banger as always. Got to throw on the Patriots hat. Been rocking this one a lot lately because Drake Maye Truther here. But on top of that, not only that, the Patriots have just been playing so well. But as always, make sure that you guys are commenting, and subscribing. Lets me know that you guys are enjoying the content. And one thing that I did want to mention as well is make sure you guys are following my Instagram. But one thing I have to mention for the videos as well is your boy just got Invisalign. So if you boys, if you hear a little bit of a th or a lisp, I'm sorry. It's the retainers that are in my mouth. So hopefully look past that for me if you guys could. We're going to make it work though. If it really does affect the videos coming forward though, I'll just take them out while I am recording. But with all of that out of the way, we have to jump into today's video because I cannot wait to talk more about Drake Maye and why he wasn't the first overall pick. Now, as we all know, the draft is always something of a crapshoot. Teams having their expectations on the back of an unproven 20-something-year-old, desperately hoping that they're up to the task. In 2024, it was not entirely the case though, especially not at quarterback. Caleb Williams out of USC had been the de facto #1 overall pick since he took over the Red River rivalry as a true freshman. The 2022 Heisman winner had just about every scouting buzzword attached to him, and there were few, if any, voices in the media who cautioned the bullish confidence around Williams as an NFL franchise quarterback. There was significantly more intrigue around the 2nd overall selection held by the Washington Commanders, as 2023's Heisman winner Jaden Daniels was a great story. He was a transfer quarterback who went from freshman prodigy to public enemy #1 in Tempe, only to revive his career on the Bayou. Daniels' play on the field was impressive, but his slender frame and questionable arm strength meant that fresh off his Heisman-winning campaign, he wasn't even the clear-cut quarterback 2 in the draft. Which brings us to the man that was rivaling him for that spot, who had a far less illustrious collegiate career, but showed flashes of brilliance that made scouts fall in love with him. It wasn't either one of the quarterbacks who faced off in the national championship game, who was Michael Penix or JJ McCarthy, nor was it Oregon's Bo Nix, who had just set a record for single-season completion percentage. It was North Carolina's gunslinger Drake Lee Maye. Maye had dominated the ACC in his 2 seasons as a starter, but a lack of national exposure for Tar Heel games meant that the quarterback's true ceiling was something of a mystery to most. It's not that he couldn't have made it in the SEC, hell, he was even recruited by Nick Saban, but instead he chose to stay true to his home state.
You know North Carolina's quarterback?
Yes, he's very good.
He was committed here.
Drake Maye.
Drake Maye. And for quite some time. Drake Maye was like 1, Jalen Milroe was 2. You know, we were going to go down this quarterback line and see who could we get. So when we got Jake Maye, we lost Jalen Milroe, and then Maye switched to North Carolina, which, you know, his whole family, his brother played basketball, his parents both went there and all that, so I got that.
And in that 2022 season too, he made his best case for the Heisman Trophy. He led the conference with 4,321 passing yards and 38 touchdowns to just 7 interceptions, while he also led the team in rushing. Maye was so impressive that he even garnered comparisons to college football royalty.
Should Drake Maye be a Heisman finalist? If not, what else does he have to do to prove he should be? Drake Maye is killing it at North Carolina right now. And this was a former Alabama commit that decommitted, committed to North Carolina. We made a big deal about it at that point on the show when we were still down in Brentwood, and for good reason. He's playing lights out right now. He has numbers nearly identical at this point in the year to what Joe Burrow had in 2019 at this point in the year.
Maye did finish 10th in Heisman voting in 2022, but saw significant statistical regression in 2023 following Josh Downs' departure for the NFL. He still did earn second-team all-conference honors, but had flown fairly under the radar during the season as the Tar Heels failed to make the ACC championship game. In In fact, in their biggest test of the season against Clemson, Maye had fallen completely flat, completing less than half of his passes for the first time in his career. And then to make matters even worse, that was the penultimate game of the season, which he followed with another stinker in a loss to an eternal rival in NC State. Oh, and it gets better too, because before the game he even said this.
You know, whether, you want to admit it or not, growing up in Carolina, you're going to be a Carolina fan. And, some people may say State, but really people go State, just can't get into Carolina.
Like, that's the thing. If you're going to talk trash, you're gonna need to back it up. Instead, though, Maye threw 2 picks, one of which was his last pass as a collegiate player. Not only did this leave a bitter taste in people's mouths, especially those who had been tracking his progress closely, but when it came time for grinding the tape, scouts were fairly divided on what Maye brought to the table and his chances of succeeding as an NFL signal caller.
I don't care what it is. You watch the best games in his career, right? Yeah, you'll see a few of those throws, but for every one of those throws, there's 5 of like, what the hell is that throw, right? There's no way evaluators, coaches, quarterbacks, any of that are going to be able to get behind like right now and Drake Maye and go, oh yeah, he's ready to go. He should be the number 2 or number 3 pick of the draft. No way. There's too many things about his game that need to be polished, better, improved, whatever it may be. Right?
Drake Maye has more variance to me than any of these quarterback prospects. You know what I mean? In that it's on the board that he is Mitch Trubisky. Sure. But it's also on the board that he is, a lesser Josh Allen. Well, I would say a lesser version of Josh Allen.
I'd say 2.0.
And that's the thing too. For as many doubters as Drake Maye did have, he had just as many people in his corner, like your boy, saying that he was going to be a great quarterback. And trust me, there was a case to be made that he wasn't just one of the most exciting prospects in the class, but in fact that he was the very best.
Yes, like you mentioned the game I have this weekend. I know a lot of people talk about Caleb Williams. Drake Maye is, to me, about as perfect of a prospect that I have ever seen in 15 years at ESPN. There are good quarterbacks coming out in this draft. You're going to have a bad team. I understand, you re-signed Daniel Jones to a big contract last year and all of that. I think if you're in the market for one of these guys that I believe is going to be really, really good, I think you got to get involved in that game. And Drake Maye, for me, Dan, would be at the top of the list.
Let me put it to you very simply. If it wasn't for Caleb Williams, Drake Maye would be the slam dunk number 1 pick in this draft. And I don't think that it's that close. I think that these 2 guys are separated from the rest of the quarterback pack, even some of these other really good players. This guy has talent like I haven't seen in a long time. He's a better college version of what Josh Allen was in college.
That's the thing too. I think the comparison to Josh Allen, it's really the most telling comparison that we got with Drake Maye coming out of college. Like, as we all know, Drake Maye, he was a very raw prospect and just raw talent coming out of UNC. Coming out of college, we all knew that he could sling the rock and could make some crazy passes, but just as we heard from Chris Sims earlier, he also made some really head-scratching plays. And that's the thing, he needed to be drafted somewhere that was willing to properly nurture him. I mean, after all, he was by far the most inexperienced quarterback in the class with just 30 games under his belt, by the contrast of Jayden Daniels, who had twice as many games in his career as 55. Maye had all of the tools too, and once he got into rooms with NFL execs, his stock rose even further. There is, of course, this clip of Brian Dable damn near falling in love with him too at the combine.
Gundolphin right.
Gundolphin right, 72, Tundra, float, H-angle.
Gundolphin right, 72, Tundra, float, H-angle.
Yeah, so Tundra stands for what?
200s.
200s, and what does float stand for?
It's got the corner of the out.
Flag, we call it a flag, so okay. I mean, we end up saying corner flag, but it's flag.
The
so
out,
flag, and the angle is an angle. You got me on that?
Easy stuff.
Then you use Rita to the right, Linda to the left. It was a flip formation. Good?
Rita to the right, Linda to the left.
72, 5-man protection, slide to the will. So if the strength of the formation is right, what formation is that again?
Yeah, Gundolphin right.
Yeah, right. He's there. The will's over there. The line would slide there. We'd say 72 Rita.
72 Rita. Gotcha.
So let's say this before you go to the next one.
Then at the North Carolina Pro Day, he wowed all of the scouts present with some insane throws.
But I can clearly tell by the reactions by all the coaches and scouts that were there, and they were shaking their head and grinning. So I think the guys at the top of the draft, he's going to be gone by the time you get the 4th or whatever. But my honest opinion, the way Elliott Wolf and Maye was reacting, they're not trading out of that pick.
Come draft night, though, we all know the Commanders ultimately passed on Maye for the more proven quantity in Jayden Daniels, which meant that he fell right into the the Patriots' lap at 3rd overall. The recently departed Pats head coach Bill Belichick didn't sound too fond of the pick at first either.
Drake compares himself a lot to Josh Allen. He has been doing that for quite a while. We'll see about that. I think there are some similarities in terms of size and athleticism. But Josh Allen's a pretty special player now. So again, kind of open receivers down here. We gotta hit them. And again, kind of I'd say too quick to scramble and get out of the pocket. Of all the quarterbacks, he was the lowest rated in the pocket thrower.
But Pat's executive vice president and player personnel Elliott Wolf was just as proud to have kept that secret that long.
But yeah, there wasn't a lot of intrigue this year at the top of the draft. The league's probably not excited about that, but everybody kind of knew who 1 and 2 were. We were the most intrigued, and I thought we actually did a pretty good job of keeping it under wraps because we've known for a while.
And when Maye finally made it onto the field in the preseason, the Bears and Commanders appeared justified in passing on him too, as Bill Belichick broke down the shortcomings in his game.
You like his size and you like his arm. I think his inexperience really, showed up in the preseason, as it did a little bit in North Carolina. And I think that he needs a lot of seasoning in terms of reading coverages, overall throwing mechanics, and consistency. Is he, a big, fast athlete? Yeah, but I think it's going to take more than that to be ready to play quarterback in the National Football League.
Well, you can't give away. You got an easy throw, you got to make it.
No, I mean, you expect quarterbacks at this level to be able to throw checkdowns to backs, to throw, slant routes to wide receivers, to hit a wide open seam. And look, we all have plays that we wish we had back. Just saying, these are some of the things that we need to work on. I think that Maye probably has more of these than the other quarterbacks do, based on what we've seen in preseason, which is granted a limited sample.
Maye was named backup to start the season, but eventually took over for Jacoby Brissett and showed some promise in the later stages of 2024. But a shakeup in the coaching staff in Foxborough posed a threat to his development. Out went Gerard Mayo, and in came Mike Vrabel and legendary Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. Even before he got the job, McDaniels went on to Julian Edelman's podcast where he was asked to lay out a blueprint for how he could and would, hypothetically of course, develop Drake Maye.
Always talk about it. They have a bucket. You guys all had a bucket, and yours was a big bucket at the end. Like you could handle whatever we gave you. Well, when you take a young quarterback, it's more like a cup. You got to put some stuff in his cup, and when it gets to the top, you got to stop. You know what I mean? And then make sure that he, has this and he can do it well. And then so then when he's ready for more, then you get him a bigger cup.
Yeah.
And then hopefully he ends up with a bucket, and you got a bunch of stuff in there that you can do well. But there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut to it. And I think knowing where the player's at is really important.
And well, so far in 2025, Josh McDaniels, he's executing that plan perfectly right now, and he's got Drake Maye off to a historic start.
Drake Maye has the second highest completion percentage in NFL history through 8 games. Second highest completion percentage, in NFL history, only trailing Drew Brees right now. The man is doing it with his arm, he's doing it with his legs. With Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels coaching him right now, this man is just looking outstanding.
All in all, though, Maye's pre-draft evaluations proved right in many ways. His inexperience led to a rough start, but with the right development, some better pieces around him, and all of the talent in the world, he's taken off. And yes, although it is unfair to compare him to Jaden Daniels, who has missed much of the season with injury, there's no doubt that Drake Maye has enjoyed a better start to life in the league than first overall pick Caleb Williams. Based on their current standings too, there's a strong case to be made that it should have been Maye and not Williams called first overall, although there is still plenty of time left for that to change. But with an understanding that at the time there was a boomer bust quality to Maye as a prospect, whereas Williams and Daniels were considered can't-miss talents, it's fairly clear to see why the Pats' number 10 wasn't the first overall pick in 2024, even if that high ceiling that he did tease in Chapel is now being realized in 2025.